In 2022, USA men's team lost a two-leg playoff against South American side Chile by just a single point on aggregate. This loss earned Chile their first ever place at the Rugby World Cup, but pitched USA into a world of pain. They went on to play a second World Cup qualification tournament a few months later, where they again fell at the final hurdle, this time a 16-all draw with Portugal. They failed to qualify on points difference. And so, for just the second time ever, USA did not qualify for the Rugby World Cup. They were the highest ranked team not to do so. This makes us ask the question, are the USA really the sleeping giant of rugby, or are they enduring a recurring nightmare that the sport cannot wake up from?
So what's wrong with USA Rugby? Well, if you're the women's team, not much.
USA Women defeated Australia in the Pacific 4 this season, meaning they qualified for the WXV1 tournament, the top tier of women's international rugby. USA Women won the first ever Women's Rugby World Cup, and they continue to be an ever-present at the top table of the women's game. The Sevens teams are both doing okay as well, both having qualified for the Olympic Sevens this summer and being regulars of the Sevens circuit.
The Sevens programme has been reasonably successful for the USA, and now that it's an Olympic sport, it does get a lot more exposure. The 15s programme though, that's been less successful.
A quick glance at their record will show you a series of W's, as they do win roughly half, if not more, of their games. Look a little closer, however, and you will notice that almost all of those games are against other Tier 2 nations. Over the last few seasons, USA have been bouncing between the Pacific Nations Cup and the Rugby Americas Championship. They won the latter in 2017 and 2018, but that level of opposition has done little to develop them. They have won just 3 games in their 8 World Cups, and their only test victory of the professional era against Tier 1 opposition was against Scotland in 2018. Other than that, they have been lambs to the slaughter for established nations, with scorelines north of 70 points not being unusual.
As such, despite rugby being played in the USA for as long as it has anywhere, it has never really captured the imagination of the general populace.
Now, the USA has a huge population, meaning there are plenty of avid fans of the sport in the country, and as the Pirate Rugby learned, it is possible to watch close to any rugby match in the world in America.
I loved the Rugby Network when they came out because it was completely free. You sign up, but you don't even give them a credit card for later or anything like that. It's just, here you go. And they carried, I think, every single MLR game that way, and all the replays and everything like that. It's great. Plus, they're sort of linked with Rugby Pass, so they have, some of the Jim Hamilton crap and other random stories. The big one is Flow Rugby by a lot. They have the top 14, they have the URC, they carry Super Rugby. It's just a constant search. Once the season ends, you have to start searching. Okay, who's picked up this contract for the next year, if anyone? Where am I going to be able to find this?
But there are several barriers to rugby really taking off in the USA, not least of which is money.
The 2023 qualification failure came off the back of the union going bankrupt. To even assemble a national squad is extremely expensive thanks to the sheer size of the country, requiring flying most of the squad wherever the training camp happens to be.
If there are quality rugby players in Boston, Seattle, Miami, Houston, that's great, but it's also a massive headache.
The bankruptcy cost USA Rugby much of its control over the game in America, with even colleges breaking away from the national union. The MLR has significant money issues too. Club rugby is not profitable anywhere in the world, and the MLR has seen 6 teams go bust.
MLR is not actually linked to USA Rugby, and the two organisations have not always shared the same goals.
For instance, the league has been criticised for importing too many foreign players. Former USA men's coach Gary Gold said that during his tenure, there were some positions where MLR sides didn't have a single American qualified player on the books. In 2022, New York's general manager was quoted as saying, "It's not MLR's job to develop the USA national team. It is a private endeavour looking to turn a profit." New York closed its doors in 2023.
It is also true that the USA have dropped down in the World Rugby rankings since MLR was created. World Rugby has clearly felt the need to take action. The USA is the world's largest economy, and rugby simply cannot afford to miss out.
World Rugby Chief Executive Alan Gilpin has said that if rugby can gain just 1% of the sporting market in the US, it would double its global economy. The sport simply cannot fail in America. In 2024, World Rugby stepped in and funded a new MLR team named Anthem, with its expressed purpose to be helping develop players for the national team.
World Rugby was like, you guys have a World Cup coming in less than 8 years. You didn't even qualify for the last World Cup. You don't look like you're in a great state right now. And it's not good for the game if the host nation looks bad at an event like this. So we want to help you guys get better. So they said, hey, MLR, you've got a new franchise now. And it's based out of the Hawks team, which is like the developmental squad for the Eagles. And the idea is, because obviously MLR teams, we have some domestic players and we have lots of Kiwis, lots of South Africans. We have many foreign players. There's a cap on how many you can have, but people definitely like to be at that level. But this club is supposed to be for Americans. This is a developmental American team. They told, with just weeks left to go, they're like, by the way, there's this new team. And it felt like there's nothing you can do about it. You have to sit there and say, thank you, sir, can I have another? And I think it makes us look stupid. I think it makes the league look weak. And they're probably not going to be very good, right? And maybe I'm wrong about that. I'd be happy to be wrong. But it seems like there's going to be a bit of a walkover side. And I know I want the Eagles to be good too. It's going to be a painful process to get there. And so maybe this is that route.
At time of recording, Anthem sit bottom of the MLR table with 0 wins. Now, there are articles out there that say rugby is growing in America. Some even claim that it's the fastest growing sport with over 2,500 clubs in 2021. But when you consider that France has around 1,700 rugby clubs for a population around a fifth of the size and a 17th of the landmass, you realise how much further there is to go. In any case, for a country as large as the US, playing quantity was never going to be the problem, more so the quality. America clearly has the male athletes available to be competitive in rugby. The problem is they're all playing other sports that are far more popular and more profitable to play. To say rugby is a niche sport in America would be an understatement. The 2023 MLR Grand Final drew just over 10,000 fans. The highest attended ever USA men's game was 61,000 fans, but that was a decade ago. 5,000 fans turned up for the loss against Chile. The Rugby World Cup will be held in the USA in 2031, meaning they have qualified by default. The event has received the public backing of the White House, and the sport's governing body will be hoping for a repeat of the success in Japan in 2019.
In the meantime, the qualification process for the new 2014 World Cup is kind of set up to make sure the USA can't fail. They would have to finish at bottom of the Pacific Nations Cup, lose a playoff against the second best South American team, and then fail to win a qualification tournament against the second best Asian team, the second best African team, and the third best South American team. Now that's unlikely to happen, so hopefully by 2027 we will have finally started seeing signs that the sleeping giant is starting to awaken.
If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and thank you for watching.
He's got the ball now, Nguyen, over the 10-metre line, outside of that.